Nice to see you for Pricing Pros this morning. So funny. I had as I was trying to get myself to wake up this morning, sometimes you drift back into a sleepy space, and I dreamed that Pricing Pros was canceled. And so then I woke up and I was like, is it canceled? I don't remember. So, but it's not. We're here today, and welcome. Let's see. So I'm going to go on and share my PowerPoint presentation here, just to.
And my apologies, I was behind this morning.
It's all good. Let me see if I can launch this baby.
I came in on 2 wheels, so I'm like, barely made it in. I feel you.
All good. That's usually me. All righty. So everybody see the splash screen for Pricing Pros? Excellent. Just a quick reminder of what we're here for. Of course, I'm preaching to the choir, but it's to strengthen our CMA skills and to just discuss the logic and process of creating these analyses, every one of which is, of course, a special snowflake. So there's no formula, but there are some best practices, some better practices, and then sometimes you just got to go off the ranch and get really creative to get an accurate picture of pricing. So we want to practice. I don't know about you guys, but a lot of times I'm doing a CMA because I needed it 5 minutes ago, and I'm not really putting the reps in to sharpen my skills. And then also just to collaborate and share information, insights, tips that we've picked up along the way, best practices and such. All right, so my lighting's terrible here. Today's pricing puzzle, we touched on it last week, and for just FYI for 2021, we're gonna sort of not redo. This is still a work in progress, and we've gotten some really great feedback in the education survey. So thanks to you who have already responded, and please, if you haven't already, we'd love to get your insight on how to make Pricing Pros better. It's a bit of a work in process, and it's a little different than some of the other the other village education offerings, in that it's not really, it's the same, it needs to be the same format every week. It's the same purpose. It's it's like going to the gym for, leg day, it's going to be a little different, little different each time. But so I'm trying to get that a good format for next year. So thanks for hanging in there, giving us feedback and improving this experience. So today's puzzle, we talked about it a little bit. Maria Jackson introduced it last week or 2 weeks ago. 517 South 10th Street in East Nashville. It is a coming soon. It is new construction. So this will be our first new construction that we've addressed on Pricing Pros. It's 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, 2,755 square feet. There's a rooftop terrace, attached 2-car garage, which is you don't always get over in East Nashville. And if that's something you want, that can be a good thing. And then there is a coming soon across the street that's listed for 1.08 million right now. It has 4 beds, 3.5 baths, an office, and no garage. So the information that, and then in the Google Drive for Pricing Pros, there was a floor plan that Maria provided, which if you took a look at that, then you may have some comments, as I did. Maria provided us the description of 3 beds, 3 baths, and 20 of that, but I saw something in the floor plan that could affect my pricing assessment. So, all right. So, all right. Now, for those who were on last week or using an app called Slido, if you've got your cell phone with you, if you would just open your camera and focus it on this little QR code, and it should pop up in your, just like if you've done this at a restaurant, not that any of us have been in restaurants, but menus are all going to this now, even online menus. And it should pop up with the question, what listing price would you suggest if you took over this listing today? And again, it's not listed right now, so if you were going to list it today. just pop in a number there, and it doesn't identify who said. So if you want to put something, if you want to start the bidding at $1, that's fine, but we'll know it's Ted if it's $1. So, all right, and unfortunately, I can't put mine in there, which is kind of stinky. But I will share mine. I've got to figure out how I can. I think I have to become a participant on my. Let me try this. Oh, you guys are putting it in there.
Are we allowed to ask Maria phone a friend for questions before I put my number in?
No, because on Pricing Pros last week, we got Maria was on, so you're just out of luck. I'm kidding. You can phone a friend.
Well, no, I just am shocked there's 1,000,001 across the street. Like do we know the footage of the one across the street, Maria?
Well, Maria's not on the call, but we can go back to the slide before the coming soon across the street is
This is 3218.
Thank you, Dana. I was afraid to hit the back button. I have a tenuous relationship with screen sharing, and I didn't want to.
I have the Google Doc up if you need.
It's 3,200 square feet. It's 4 bedrooms, 3.5 baths, and it does not have a garage. And
yeah, we got that on there, which is awesome.
Oh, I get to type my answer in here. Excellent.
Hey, can I interrupt for just a second?
Yes.
Maria texted me and said she is waiting to be accepted into the meeting. She's having trouble getting in here. So I don't know what that deal is. But the other thing too is, Ted, what you just said, Maria thinks the same thing. Why on earth is there $1 million something across the street? And so the one we're doing is hers, and she's trying to price it. And then she sees this $1 million thing and she's like, it just kind of can't be right. And so it's kind of stumped her and worried her about how she's going to price this one. Hence this whole discussion.
Ted, do you think there's any chance that Maria has clicked on a different meeting that hasn't been started yet?
Possibly, because there is no waiting room in this. And is it Maria Jackson? Yes. She was just on this. She was on here unmuted, like when I asked that question. That's why I was like, she's on here.
Oh.
So
I don't see her.
She's not on here now.
Okay.
I will re-forward her the link. I don't see a waiting room or anything for that. She was just in here. So.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
All right. Would anybody else like to throw a number in here, and we'll go to the next question?
Sure. Hold, please. This is so. That has no merit.
Hey, you just took my number.
I did?
Yeah.
As a total guess, I have no idea. I haven't even my barely comps on screen. I have no idea.
Ted, that's why they pay you the big bucks.
Yeah, right.
All right. Okay. All right. Thanks. Okay, we've got a couple of answers in there. Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank you. And again, this is just this is not to there's at this point there's no prize for being right or wrong, way off or way close. So we're just starting the discussion. All right. Next question. Which closed listing, an address or an MLS number, do you think is the best comp for comparison here? All right. And again, we're just doing this on the front end to get, to get the juices flowing. What we'll do after this survey is I'm going to sort of step through my logic on for this analysis for this CMA, and then we can have some discussion about where you all would made changes, approached it differently, things I might not have considered, that sort of stuff. All right, I'm going with.
I know the tiny URL works because people joined after I sent the text. So Maria Jackson, everybody, put your hands together in the house.
Woo! All right. All right, just if you would, please, just take a look at your CMA, and even if you throw a dart at one that looks pretty tasty, again, this is a closed listing. We'd like to, you know, advise folks based on closed listings, because that is what the market will support, of course. It's nice to see what's active and what's under contract, but until it closes and they lock in that price, the information, the pricing information isn't quite as valuable to us.
I'm still running my map. Like, I'm just trying to scatter some comps together here. I feel really good about it.
Now, I can come back to this as well if people want to another minute. Just don't want to trying to improve the flow of the class, and so it's I'm not. Hey, I've screamed in on two wheels before. I'm not calling out anybody, but
Is this a single family or a townhome?
now, Ted, if you had done
Single
your research, you would.
Listen, you know, not all of us can have our homework done. Just take it easy. I guess I should make quiet
I
time.
didn't have it done either, so I'm trying to.
It's all good. It's a single family home.
Mhm.
It is not a townhome, and as a bonus, it is not an HPR attached or detached.
Yes, it's a single family.
Well, I'll go ahead and report the listing that's not listed as an HPR and closed as residential site built. If y'all see that, by the way, please report the listing so that we can get better comp data. So if you see a listing that in the notes or looks like an HPR, report the listing, and I'll show you an example of that. But
Actually, Ted, if you'll hold on that, that's going to be the pro tip.
sorry,
That's okay.
we're so in sync, like we always are.
Oh, so always, so much all the time. A lot of the time now.
So you want an address or an MLS number?
Either way, yeah, this information is to gather information both for the discussion and also to provide the listing agent. Like last time, we had some good information in here for that we could share with Emily Warner. It was her listing. She was having some concerns about the pricing, and so this just gives some insight into how other people are pricing. And what they might be looking at. Maybe it's something somebody missed or overlooked for whatever reason. All right, I'm going to move on to the next question, which is, what is the most important price consideration beyond bed, baths, and square footage? Anything that you think, oh, thank you, Ted, for putting that in the chat, the link to your call. Anything that you think is we should really consider. So things that go into price consideration where you can't just plug it into a formula and say,
Are we going to discuss these things after we put these all in here?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Again, this is just to get the juices flowing.
Good morning. This is
Morning.
Maria. I had trouble with my frozen laptop. It's still trying to recoup, but I'll try my cell phone instead.
I am secretly impressed at how close my dart at the beginning is to actually what I think it should be.
Any other things you'd like to put into the quiz here? Again, well, it's not a quiz. Again, it's just collecting information discussion.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. Another couple of seconds. If you got something in process, let me know, or we're going to move forward. All right. So I'm going to stop this share, and I'm going to go to a different screen here, I think. Sorry, I'm looking for, I want to share a different application. All right. Sorry, I'm trying to share a different, I want to share my real tracks, which is what I'm trying to do. Ah, I'm with you. All right. Your screen. All right. Let's see if we can do this now. Oops.
Oh, great.
Let's try this one more time. Uno más. All right. Sorry for the, I really need to practice on sharing screen here. All right, real tracks. Okay. Do you all see a CMA?
Yes.
Yep,
This is-
I see
okay.
it.
Oh, yay. Okay. All right. So now try one more thing. Ah. All right. Do you still see a CMA?
No,
No,
What do you see?
you stopped your
You.
screen share.
Dang it. All right. I apologize.
no, I think my laptop is acting up too. So,
Okay. Do you see real tracks now?
Yes.
All right,
yes.
great. Oh, fantastic. Okay. And did it refresh to show a map?
It is, yes.
I'm
Anything
trying to.
you see, we are seeing, yes.
But if I switch from this, okay. All right, so this is how, just to give you a little logic of how I did this CMA. So this,
Okay.
this is not listed yet. All right, so I can't look up an MLS number or get that MLS number, or even it's not coming soon right now. So how am I going to find it? I typed in the address up here and hit enter, and it gave me the little star. So that located the property, even though it's not currently listed. All right.
Oh, okay.
And so this is especially helpful if it's new construction. And
Who didn't
you
know
know,
you could do that?
Say that again?
You know you could do that, Ann?
Yes, it's the first thing I do because I want to know where it is, like, or to orient myself.
I
Like,
had
did
to
I
map, I had to map it in a different window so I knew where it was, and then I go back to Real Tracks and I drew a circle. Holy
no,
snap.
just put the address in and search, and you see it on the map, and then you can decide where to draw your map, and then you can decide what criteria you want to put in. I think
Oh,
where I was going with my feedback to you, like, this is the process that I wanted to see play out here.
Correct. Agree.
okay.
And, and thanks for that feedback, Ann. I do want to talk with you more about that, but it underscored one of the ideas that I had. I just didn't. Anyway, I'll talk to you more about that later. So thank you for that feedback. All
Sure,
right,
it might
so-
just be the way my brain works, but then I think everybody can see what your thinking is when you start here like this.
right.
Which I think what's helpful when we all get stuck, we want the benefit of our colleagues' thinking.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah,
Yeah,
well, I'd love to
great.
talk with you more about that as well. So this
Great
is, again,
feedback.
this is my logic. And so I'm hoping that by sharing this, then you all will, add some, oh, I would have done this, or I thought about this, or what if you did that kind of thing. I'm not claiming that I'm the pricing pro is what I'm saying here. So this is how I approached it. Right, so that's how I located, where it is. And then based on that, now I happen to live in East Nashville. I live that way up there, so I'm familiar with this area. So the way I drew the map is I clicked draw, and then you have these different options for how you can draw. You can just do a radius. You can just do a square. You can do a free-form line. Because the streets were pretty, angular here, I went with this draw box. And if you're not familiar with the draw feature, I'll be glad.
We lost you.
What's that? What
Oh,
was
we
that?
lost your audio for a second.
Yes, we
We
lost
can
it.
hear you now.
Okay, great. And just my logic here is, well, this is Shelby Park. All right, so there's nothing over there. And then I stopped here on this this west boundary over here because we're getting it here into the Casey homes and Section 8 housing. And so you're not going to get.
So how far did you go? Did you go a mile away?
That's not what I did in this situation. That's so what I'm explaining now is my logic being over here, and other people can provide their insight, but you're not going to cross the river, or I'm not going to cross the river. All right, that's a clear boundary. Not going to cross the interstate. Again, this over here is Section 8 housing, and also the big metal scrap yard. So even if I extended over here, I'm not going to get hit, right?
No, that's right. There's
And
mostly commercial.
right. And so then now I drew the boundary at Shelby Avenue. And so this can be a point for discussion. So that obviously is not, half a mile or a mile that way, right? And I did this because of my knowledge, what I feel about this area and what I know about this area. When you're getting in here, this is Laughlin Springs. And a lot of this new construction is over in the Shelby Hills area. All right, and they're doing entire stretches of streets. It's loads of new construction in Shelby Hills. Laughlin Springs is it's sort of a different beastie. It's more established, it's known, it commands a higher price point especially for historic homes. And the new construction over here is largely infill, hit, just here, maybe over here. And so I drew the boundary at Shelby. All right, so others can, give feedback on that, but that's my logic. I got 20 hits for active, under contract, showing, not showing, coming soon, and closed. And I feel okay about that.
And since when? Can you click on your status?
6 months.
Okay, cool. All right.
There's enough going on in East Nashville that I feel 6 months is sufficient, but that number could be a little low. That 20 could be a little low for
Why
some
did you not
folks.
include under contract not showing?
Oh, that was just a mistake on my part.
Not trying to point those things out, but this is what.
Yeah.
No, that's
And
helpful.
You can also do withdrawals for the last 3 months just to see what's selling and not selling too. It's just,
I like that point. I never do
Gotcha.
that.
Okay, withdrawn for the over the last 3 months. Okay, I'll add
Yeah,
that.
I like to do that too.
and then that way you can kind of see what's moving or not moving. And then also the 6 month thing, if you have lots of inventory that comes up in 6 months, you can try 3 months and see if it's more current. And this is just such a weird little pocket. I sold a house on Lenore, and I remember the appraiser went beyond Shelby, but I talked to Robbie Drimmer about it because this is so his area, and he's like, "Oh, I wouldn't comp." He was comping the way you are, Rebecca, but the appraiser did not do that. Just so you know.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
And East Nashville, I mean, I don't know it super well, but I do know the boundaries are important over there. So, if you were to get a listing, they're important everywhere, but unfortunately, this is where I think, we're having to use we're having to use things that the NAR doesn't want us to use when helping people find a home, right? Like we literally are using boundaries that exist because of certain types of homes or situations exist, like across Gallatin Road, right? Across
Yes.
Shelby.
Uh-huh.
And I don't, just as a point of reference, I don't take the time to exclude the park as Rebecca did. And I may go into the industrial area because I know there's nothing going to show up there. So you don't,
Exactly.
nothing's going to be for sale in that park. So for ease, sometimes I won't go to that detail, but the boundaries are definitely important in East Nashville as far as comparable purposes of going into Laughlin and Shelby Park and Cleveland or crossing Gallatin for sure.
Absolutely. Robbie said the exact same thing. Like you can't even go 4 houses away if you're across that boundary in his head. And he sells zillions of properties over there. I think it's probably good advice.
Would you go 6 months or a year? Well, and this year is kind of weird anyway. 6 months would be okay.
I did 6 months. But let's just see what happens with the year, and then we can talk about the logic.
I don't know what's wrong with
Feel
the
like you're
internet this
underwater.
morning.
She's on a hotspot in a remote area, so just bear with the slow speech. It's
Yeah, of course.
she's healthy and fine.
No, that's fine. It's mine is, I don't know why it's kind of crazy. It was working just fine, but now it's crazy.
I hope there's risk in that, Dana.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm it's not refreshing very quickly, obviously. So
No, it's not on my side either.
So
all
what
right.
does everybody do when they first pull up their comps for this sort of thing? Do you guys go out 6 months? Do you start at 3 months? Which direction do you start in and which direction do you go?
Go 6 months and sometimes a year just to make sure of what sold before the 6 months.
Yeah.
And
sorry.
Oh, sorry. No,
No,
I'm
no,
sorry.
go ahead, Maria. Sorry.
And I also include, like you said, Annie, the withdrawn, just to find out what's the percentage of withdrawn properties in the area.
It's just good info to see what's not selling or how much somebody had to drop something in order to get it to move.
Yeah.
And if there are a lot in the area, then you know you can't be aggressive with your pricing.
That's right.
Then I think too, like you're just trying to keep in mind what an appraiser is doing, and they don't want to go out more than a mile if they don't have to in town. They don't want to go back more than 3 months if they don't have to.
Yeah.
And so ultimately, you want to stay pretty close to that unless you have to go further.
All right, so I'm sorry that this isn't refreshing. If you can hear the dial-up modem in the background, then you'll
No, that's
understand
fine.
why. I'm
No,
just
that's fine. I'm having the same problem with my laptop.
So I'm not going to be able to update based on the moving to a year out as opposed to 6 months because it's been fairly active over in East Nashville. We haven't had much of a slowdown over here. I haven't checked in the last couple of days, but about a week ago, we had a month and a half of inventory in East Nashville. And I'm not talking Shelby Hills. I didn't zoom in that much. But for me, 6 months was fine. However, if you'll remember the Pegram property that we looked at previously for D. Davis, 6 months ain't gonna get it, and Miles not gonna get it. So very different situation here. Okay, so do you see the residential property CMA on the screen now?
Yes.
Oh, great. Okay. So this is the CMA that I created from the map search. And these are the results that I have. Those are the actives. And you can see a lot of new construction here.
Yeah.
in Shelby Hills, this
Yeah.
whole street.
Did you,
Alright.
may I ask a question?
Yeah,
In your search criteria, did you not cap square footage, bed bath, year built, or garage? Because I see you have like a 4,400, a 3,700. Is that, did you
I,
intend to do that?
I capped on year built. I did 2018 and newer.
So Rebecca, is it possible for you to go back to your screen that just shows the criteria that you plugged in? And I'm sorry, because I don't have the particulars of this property in terms of
Mm.
square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms. Like up here, you have the 6 selected. I can see your screen. Now,
Okay,
are you only using the age of the property right now?
and the type.
Okay.
And we talked last week about the risks, or last time about the risks of limiting, type, subdivision, because the information is only as good as it's been entered, by an agent. So I felt confident knowing that area over there. There's not a lot of condos over there, so I felt okay eliminating those.
Right.
And then I don't want anything that's manufactured. And when people are erring, when agents are erring in how they identify a single family residence, they're not accidentally calling it a mobile home when it's not. And honestly, I also know there's really not any over on that side, but so that's how I limited it for now.
Okay.
You've
So
got
what's the square footage of our subject property?
2755.
So do you want to go 20% in either direction? So we skip out those 4,000 ones?
So I would say yes. The reason I didn't is there's no new construction over there. They're not building new construction that's under 2,700 square feet. So maybe on the upper end. There's no risk in doing it. I'm not arguing not to do it, but I think that's good practice. I just didn't on this.
I think it's very applicable because when I ran comps, I mean, I cap it at 3,100 and I'm not getting things that are in the million plus. I mean, my highest comp is 825 closed. I did 2,300 to 3,100, minimum 3-bed total, 3-bath, 2017 year built with a 2-car garage because I think that's really material. And I have 5 closed sales and 10 actives.
And so even if you did it without the garage, then you still start seeing what's built in the last couple years. I don't know. Rebecca, I'm sorry if I'm just interjecting. I'm just trying to understand your process and your thinking, and I'm trying to test it against my own to see if I'm approaching it the right way as well. So I don't think there's any right or wrong way. To me,
Agreed.
the whole idea of us all doing this together is to figure out how we each approach it. And is there kind of a best practice in each little piece of the approach, if that makes sense?
Oh, absolutely. That's exactly what the goal is here. And my approach is to start
Broadly.
big,
Yeah.
start out, and then if I get a million, then or whatever the limit is, if I get 190, that's a little much. Let's look at zeroing it, and I try to tighten that aperture.
Yeah, I do that too. Mm-hmm.
A bit at a time until I feel comfortable with it.
Yeah.
And then I usually start over and do another one. So I don't disagree about this. My logic on this one was I don't want anything that's not new construction because there's enough new construction to compare with. And I didn't cap the square footage because I wanted to see. Maria had provided us the information about that $1 million listing, and I wanted to see it, and especially because it's across the street.
I know.
Yeah. I think to me, that's relevant to know, not in the calculation of my comp, of my CMA, but I want to know what else people are seeing and what they're looking at over there and how that compares. So that's why I didn't cap it, because I knew there was something there that I wanted to see.
That totally makes sense. And then you can draw down from that.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
And, and we can talk about that $1 million listing. I think it's way overpriced, but that's not what we're here about today. But I did want to see.
I know.
I think that is kind of what we're doing. We're trying to figure out if the one across the street, if that's really the market or if it is overpriced.
Yeah.
Right? Because
That's right.
Maria, if it is overpriced, then Maria's going to have to do her.
Adjust it. Yes.
Yeah, but if they are on the money, then Maria needs to rethink what hers is worth.
Right.
That's
Now,
right.
To Todd's
Hey.
point about, I do think, Latina, did you have a
Yes,
comment?
I have a question because I'm sort of new at this and I just learned how to do this real track stuff yesterday. So I've just been learning how to play with this. But my question is, if you don't have a lot to compare from, how do you start, like how wide do you go out to try to narrow down? Because that's what I was kind of looking at. I looked at what was there, what was sold, just tentatively, I kind of just looked in the area, couldn't really figure out anything close to that comp as far as new construction. So didn't really know where to start. So I guess that's my question.
So
How do you know where to start?
in some ways, Ted's point then just now makes a lot of sense. Like, do what an appraiser would do. And this might not all make sense to you at the moment, Latina, but if you take pretty narrow criteria and you plug in the minimum bathrooms, the minimum bedrooms, and take 20% square footage on either side, and you're trying to stay in an age range for when it's built, and you just kind of start there, then you can make it broad and see if you get anything, if you just capture anything in your map search. And if you do, and you get a ton, like Rebecca said, then you can narrow that map area and get closer and closer. Because a lot of the times, and just like Maria's example here, there really isn't a comp in the area. Like, there really isn't a natural comp. So we just kind of have to triangulate with the things that we know.
So as far as like the minimum, meaning for the average of the areas, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, kind of like the minimum in
That's
that
right. And
area.
if it has a garage, I think I would add the garage. So you just narrow down the number of examples that you get, or the criteria that you get. So that's how I do it.
And then Teddy, can you explain to me the 20% or whatever in whatever direction? Does that depend on additions as far as like garage or extras that this house might have versus others you found?
Okay, yeah, so the way I do it, I do it opposite what you're hearing here a little bit, is that I do what Ann had suggested. I don't start wide and narrow. I start with what I consider comps, and then I widen if I don't have enough data. So in this instance, when you say how far out, I think you're meaning how broad of criteria, not just geographically. So I always start with, I didn't know about this great tool that they've showed me of where it shows me on the map. But the first thing I always do is I map the listing, so I know where it is. And then I have to think about, are there any geographic boundaries that are going to be pertinent to finding comps that are within this? So if it was in Franklin, I'm not going to comp in Brentwood. Okay, Franklin overall. Are you on either side of 65? If it's Sylvan Park, I may not comp it with 12 South. I'm just going to start in Sylvan Park, but I may not use Sylvan Park as a subdivision, because some people may have put the listing in Sylvan Park, but they didn't put the subdivision as Sylvan Park. So I would use a map search, not a subdivision name. Does that make sense, Latina?
Yes.
Then when I move into square footage, like this home is 27. So I put my boundaries at 23 to 31. I just think about how too much bigger, like sometimes I might go like 27. I don't really think 20%, but maybe that's what I'm unintentionally doing or unintentionally doing. But I wouldn't go under 2,000 if something's 2,700 square feet. I mean, most people aren't using square footage as a parameter when they're searching. So that's kind of how I look at it. Then on bedrooms, even though the average of that area may be 3-bed, 2-bath, the fact this is a 3-bath, I'm going to start with 3-bath as a minimum, because homes are really distinct. A 3-bed, 2-bath wouldn't necessarily comp with a 2-bed, 2-bath, because most people want a 3-2. They're not going to be looking at 3-1s. So in this instance, I started and I put 3-3 as my minimum. And then I put my year built as 2017, simply because I wanted newer construction. And again, I can always widen, but this is what I'm using of what I think are appropriate comps. And then I did a map search. So it varies. If I was looking at homes that were, let's say this home that she was selling was 1946, then I may limit the top end of year built as being 2000, right? I wouldn't do an age range of 20%, but I wouldn't necessarily compare it to new construction. Although in East Nashville, some people would buy new construction as they would historic because there's a lot of beautiful historic renovations. And so
Yes.
many times in that area, I wouldn't restrict. But in this instance, because there is new construction comparables, there's enough data, I feel good with putting that 2017 as a minimum. So I kind of start with what I believe are comps and then I widen, but I definitely see the value in what Rebecca and others are sharing is start wide so you can see those other outliers. Just some different methods, which is what this is all intended to be. I hope that answered your question.
Can
And
I go into that?
What?
Latina, when you're first starting this and doing this, like comps just seem weird. It's a lot of data. It all seems random. It doesn't seem like there's rhyme or reason or what's the reasoning for choosing a certain criteria or not. And I think a good way to think about it is to remember that 99% of all buyers are going to get a loan and get a mortgage to buy their house. And an appraiser is going to appraise the value of that asset for the bank because they won't lend on property they won't lend on anything more than what the property is worth. So that's always the ceiling that you're working with. Does that make sense? And so you have to think like an appraiser when you do comps. It's not just, oh, could I put this on the market for 900? Sure, but you have to pass that appraisal hurdle. So
So that's why looking at the closed, what's sold, it's very important.
and that's where that 20% of square footage in either direction that comes from the appraiser. When you're in town, like in an urban area like East Nashville, an appraiser doesn't want to go more than a mile out. They'd prefer to stay a half mile out if they could. So you kind of have to think like an appraiser when you punch in these numbers. If you have new construction, a 5-year-old house isn't really new construction, which is why Ted's choosing 2017. And so if you think of this like an appraiser and start there in your learning, it might help you.
Alrighty. Oh,
While we
so
may
much.
be way off topic, I do believe, I apologize, Rebecca, but that is the point of this class, is that we really dig into the methodology and strategy of how you're running comps. So I don't even care if we don't get to a price. I do for your sake, Maria, but ultimately, just so you how was the hot dog made, right? And how are different ways in which to do it. So
that's right. That's the reason we are doing this, just to get the method and the practice to price a house. Okay.
And this is a great listing. Thank you for submitting it and Rebecca hosting this. So go ahead. Sorry.
Thank you.
Can I just say one other thing and then Rebecca, I'm sorry. I just want to say that comps aren't done in half an hour or an hour. Like real comps take a long time. It can take you almost a day you can do it down and dirty, but if you're going to be really precise and really feel confident about what you're recommending to someone, it can take you like 6 hours to do this a whole bunch of different ways and analyze all kinds of pictures. And, so we are kind of doing the down and dirty here.
Yes, and something too is as the construction is progressing, you go back and forth to see if it's actually increasing in price or just going backwards. So that's what I've been doing with this one. I came up to that price, but then the one across the street, I was shocked.
Oh, all right. Well, this is fantastic. I'm retooling my analysis right now. I try to before pricing pros, I try to limit my CMA time to an hour and a half, because to Ann's point, if you really want to do, but as Ted it can take quite a while to dig down through all the little rabbit holes that you need to get, that most accurate view, which is what we owe to our clients when we're listing these.
That's right.
But to Ted's point of progress over perfection, sometimes you just got to call it and put it out there. So,
I'm going to derail it one more time. So Rebecca, I'd like you to drop down onto your columns search, please, there. Columns drop down. Yep. Rebecca's using a custom layout right there. Are you not?
I am.
Okay. And the reason is your layout will not show sales price per foot. Okay. That is not a common. Do you see what will you roll over that, Rebecca, to show people?
Sorry, you want to see the ones I have selected?
No, in the CMA, you'll see right next to the sales price, you'll see a sales dollar /SF. You have to, no, go back to your group search, please. Go back to your search screen, please. Thank you. Next to the sales price in that column there, you'll see that sales dollar /SF. Do y'all see that?
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
She has customized this, and I was doing this as she was too, because the default RealTracks view, and can you show where to adjust this? This is really important in running comps. You'll click on columns,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to click on add remove.
Mm-hmm.
And you can select what things you want to see. So Rebecca has added in there days on market's there, but she's added in association fee and some other things. I have added in type on mine so I could readily see, and this is again something I've learned here today that I don't normally do but drives me crazy, type, because I want to see what are HPRs when I'm looking at comps, because that definitely has a bearing, and then otherwise you have to click into each one and mark your sheet. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So click type and then hit OK, and then she could save that as hers. You'll see she called it RC default, but nonetheless, just know that as you scroll down, Rebecca, in your comps, she doesn't have any that are HPRs in hers for some reason. I came up with
Actually, Ted, and that's going to be the pro tip for the day. I do, but they're not labeled correctly.
I see. Okay. I had some show up. So nonetheless, just make sure you look at tweaking your columns as your default view, so that, because it used to be you could roll over the price and it would show you the price per square foot. They've gotten rid of that feature. So now adding that list per square foot and sold per square foot is really handy.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I'll just give you the tip here. This 2001 East Side Avenue and 607 South 20th, those are detached HPRs. So that's just we're gonna, we'll wrap this up in a minute with a pro tip, but this just goes to what Ted's saying. You want to see what kinds of type it is, so you're comparing apples to apples. You don't want to be comparing a high-rise condominium to a site-built home.
That's right.
But the information is only as good as what's entered by the agent. And so sometimes you have to dig further, for example, into the deed, into the tax system, to get some more information to make sure, to confirm the information.
So you said East Side and Shelby, those are the two that are.
Let's see, 2001 East Side and then 607 South 20th.
Why do I ask that? Because I'm going to report these listings, not to get this agent in trouble, but this is what's screwing our data. We have responsibility as stewards of our business to make sure that this data gets corrected when you see inaccuracies. So please do that. We have a very efficient method to do that now.
About 1122A and 1122B Glenview, but I didn't have time to confirm that.
Cool.
One other thing about the column situation that I've put in mine that I think is useful is to have the listing agent, and that might sound kind of like it doesn't make any sense, but for people who sell a lot in a particular area, you can feel better about their pricing and does that make sense? Like, I feel more confident about how they listed their property, et cetera, when I know they sell a lot in that area. It's just a little tip if you think it's helpful for you.
Right. I like, you're right. For folks who work a fair bit over here in East Nashville, you know, when you're not sure, maybe you call Robbie Drimmer. If you're listing over in Cleveland Park, maybe you contact the king of Cleveland Park, Nick Irwin, just to bounce ideas. Added that. Brittany Turner sells a lot over here, so so she might be a good, you know. However,
Yeah,
she's got this listed incorrectly, so.
Well, she has so many there now pending, so.
So, all right. Okie dokie. Well, once again, we went over our time, and I hope that's okay with everyone. I want to be respectful of people's time, but when the discussion is going well, I get excited and want to let it roll, because I think a lot of good tips have come out of this today. Hopefully you've each gotten something you can take away. I would like to revisit the pricing for Maria's listing. Maria, we initially had several people had submitted their pricing,
Right.
and let's see where I wrote that down. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to return to my I'm going to return to my PowerPoint. And let's see. Let's go to, whoops. Let's go to this. All right.
Okay.
So this is what people had entered. Ted, did you put the $1 in there? No, you did.
Yeah, I changed my $7.50 to $1. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So these are ideas that people had put into. So that's a nice threshold point. $1. I love the shocked by the price, just guessing. It's 1.2 million, and then a 750. Does anyone want to comment on ideas of pricing range? I usually like to. Bye, Latina. It was good to see you. Thank you. I like to come up with a range usually. So, you know, 745 to 750, something close to one of those price breaks. Anyone like to provide some insight into pricing thoughts now for Maria?
All of a sudden, everybody's quiet.
I'm sticking with my 750. That's my 749.9. That's around 271 a square foot. Not that it's just about that, but I feel that that's right based on the comps that I looked at. I think that 1.08 million is ridiculously high. That's over 300 a square foot, which that's not what stuff over in Shelby Hills is selling for. Now in Lachlan Springs, you can't get anything for under 300 a square foot, but I think even for new construction, that's too high. Those are my thoughts.
Okay.
Bye, Dina.
Okay.
One thing I wanted to point out, Maria, about so when I was looking at the information that you provided, and again, this is with new construction, we don't always have, we don't have a nice, neat previous MLS listing where we can get, the information. The information's not in the tax record.
That's right.
And so we had listed as 3 bedrooms, 3 bath. And I looked at the floor plan you provided, and there are 3 bedrooms on the 3rd floor. The master is up. On the 1st floor, there is something that they call a bedroom/study. And so this would go to your point of listing and how you run comps. Is this a 3 bedroom, 3 bath, or is it a 4 bedroom? 3 bath. And, you know, looking at the floor plan, it says it lists 4 bedrooms. The one on the first floor is bedroom/study. And
Yes,
so,
there's a
and
full
then-
closet there. There's a closet there, and it's also a full bathroom.
So that could come to bear on, you know, running comps. You know, do we need to look at
Yes.
4 bedroom?
That's
4
right.
bedrooms? The other
Mhm.
thing about this space, which doesn't come into the, I meant to put that in, I'll add that to things we should consider. In addition to that first floor bedroom/study, because everybody kind of, we're thinking home office these days, right?
That's right.
Your listing has a bonus room.
Oh, yeah.
So you can
Mhm.
still have an office that's in that flex space and count it as 4 bedrooms if that.
Well, that's an open room. It's like a family room. It's gathering room. So there's no closets available, but there's a full bath, you know, between the two bedrooms. And upstairs, the 3rd floor is a terrace.
Right.
There's a full view of the skyline, Nashville skyline.
Yes. And some of the other, we'll go down to the oops. Well, maybe. Let me see if I can go down one. There, here we go. So most important price considerations beyond beds, bath, and square footage. So finishes and location, someone put. One thing that I consider that a positive thing, and when you're looking at the comps, you know, even though some of them are marked the wrong thing, there is typically a price difference between HPR, even if it's detached, and site built.
Mhm.
And then the other thing, which I considered possibly a notch down from some of the other listings, especially the ones on Sevier over there, I mean, Ozark, it's not set up for an owner to be an owner occupied STR, whereas all those new constructions over on Ozark they've got either a basement entrance, separate dwelling that could be an in-law suite, or an owner occupied STR, but this one isn't really set up for it. So if you're trying to market it with that in mind, or you're going possible, you know, income
Mhm.
generating thing, it's just something to keep in mind,
Yes.
in my
yeah.
opinion.
That's right. Yes. Instead of that, that's why they decided on a 2-car garage instead of a possible a separate apartment or something that someone can make money out of it. But it's not. It's strictly a single family home.
All right. Anyone else want to add a price consideration beyond beds, baths, and square footage? Something that sets
Year
it
built.
apart. Year built,
Garage.
brand new. Mhm.
Is that what you were asking?
Yeah, just things to consider. And again, the bedrooms, that's something to consider as well. Do you market it as a 4-bedroom or a 3-bedroom? So
Ed, what's your general take on the difference in value between 3 and 4? Do you see it as a huge upside to have 4, to market it as a 4-bedroom? Yeah,
Yeah. Did you ask me?
yeah.
Yes, 100%. So I don't think it's as marketable to have a 3-bath versus a 2-bath. So if a builder asks you, do we need to put a 3rd bath? It's less needed than it is the 4th bedroom.
That's so interesting. I would say it's the opposite, but I'm not even sure what I'm basing that on.
Here's my rationale and reason. Most people can live with 2 baths. They really want 2.5. Okay. But they don't necessarily want to live without the 4th bedroom, which we're now calling, or is the office. When
That's
things were with COVID, it changed. Like, it's so much more important to have that office space now because everyone has someone operating from home with an office environment, a kid, a family member. So even though without these comps, I did it minimum 3-bed, 3-bath, and I had enough data because it certainly is a benefit to have that 3rd bath. But as far as people, when I go through criteria, it would be more imperative if they ask them, what is an absolute must? 4 beds or 3 beds versus 3 baths, 2 baths. The bed would always be the preferred and needed thing.
Okay, is it always preferred if there is that 4th office option? I mean, if it's marketed as a 3-bedroom plus an office, is that a lot less valuable?
I would have them put a rollaway wardrobe, like old school, like just even like, retail rack, and call it a 4th bedroom before I would not market it. If you've got something with 4 walls and even could be considered an office, nobody, we can't search as a 3-bed plus office. And
Right.
so we're really just using database, as you know all this, but I would always try to market an extra bedroom anytime you can, and then explain it, Lucy. Explain it in the private remarks. I know that was a terrible accent, Maria. I apologize.
We're gonna have to edit. We're gonna have to edit that out.
Just
You're good right up until then, Paul.
Everything was good right until that. Well, it was an honest mistake. I would always try to get that extra bedroom space to add that to the marketing. It makes a radical difference on comps.
Okay.
And explain in the special remarks that 4th bedroom is office.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I would also, again, I would also call the bonus room the flex space. Maria, I know you see it as a shared space, and maybe as a living area or whatever. People might see it as something else, and so I would say something like flex space. Flex space could be rec room, hobby room, second office. Don't label it. Let somebody else label it. And that's why I wouldn't label that 1st floor bedroom an office. I would label it as a bedroom or count it as a bedroom and say 1st floor bedroom could be ideal, separate, off the downstairs office with space up, because in my house, we need 2 offices. I'm in the guest bedroom. So the office I would market as a 4-bedroom, and you could mention could be an office, but people can imagine that too, So anyway.
All right. This is great feedback.
All right. So you're going to list for what? 1.1?
No. No, for sure. No,
You're going to be over or under 8?
Not under 8. I'm thinking I'm getting closer to 850.
Wow.
Explain your wow, Ted, so that we all understand. I'm not messing with you. I'm serious. Explain your wow.
Please. My comps. I mean, the comps that I ran, there's nothing closed over 825. This time, is it going to be done soon? Are you putting it on the market soon?
No, it's going to take another. Construction is delayed right now, so it'll be probably the 1st or 2nd week of January.
Right. So, in my opinion, the worst time of year in Nashville to put homes on the market. That's not Maria's fault. That's just, it's the coldest and worst time of year, January, February.
That's right.
So when I look at that data, are you sharing screen, Rebecca?
I am. I was going to, again, my CMA is just that. It's just mine. But I wanted to go back and look at the closed comps.
Yeah, that's good. Can you scroll? There you go.
Yeah, let's see that.
So Maria, if you don't see a lot over 825, why are you thinking 850? What's your reasoning?
If it is too slow, I would just, take 2 weeks and then reduce it to 825. But I would try that. The builder is is so eager to get to 900, but obviously it didn't make it. You know, of course he wants more money, but it's
gonna
not
be
going to
stretched.
happen.
Yeah, he's going to be stretched to make 850. That house will sell, in my opinion, for 825 to 835.
Okay.
I would tell him that you have, and that's the only comp. There's only one. If you look at Rebecca's clothes, mine are very similar. Look at all the 700s. So he's going to be pressed to get an 8 in front of it, in my opinion.
That's right.
And that's new construction. And that is in his exact area. I mean, this is not outliers. This is razor sharp comps.
What's
So
your,
I
what's your,
would-
Yes.
Maria?
Actually, I came up to 750 a month or two ago, and I said that's going to be the price. And then when I saw this other house across the street, he said, "You're going to have to go back to your pricing list because this is just way too much. If I don't want to leave money on the table." And I said, "Yeah, let me just go back and see it." So that's why I suggested for all of us to work on it, because I thought that was outrageous.
Just because they're asking that doesn't mean it's going to sell for that. So we only use sold comps. This is the dialogue I have with that seller. And recognize this. I had a listing I put on at 775. I got a contract at 785 the first day. They backed out. I'm now down to 725.
Oh, wow.
Recognize that just because I'll put it at 850 and I'll wait 2 weeks, you blew your grand opening. The best chance to sell donuts is when the sign says hot.
Okay.
There's a price for yesterday's donuts, but it's very different than today's donuts and
It's
bread
lower. Yeah.
and cars and houses. And so, as Brian Copeland used to say, it's better to be in the market than on the market.
Right.
And so by chasing the market down, you are leaving money. You're not leaving money on the table. You're giving money away because you're then reacting to the market. I'm 18 days on the market and I'm down $50,000 on this Sylvan Park house.
Mhm.
And so, and my sellers thankfully are realistic and they're like, we want to be proactive. And every week we're dropping and dropping. And you know what everybody that came to the open house said? Why are you dropping? What's wrong with the house?
Right.
So I think you're making I think the seller would be making a terrible mistake. It's not you, right? Seller would be making a terrible mistake to list this house at anything over 849 or 850. Especially during that time of year. And the comps, the data is there. Like the data is explicitly there. I wouldn't show these comps that Rebecca is showing. I would definitely cap it at 3,100 square feet. You are not comparing your house with anything over 3,100 square feet. And I would.
This is the thing, Maria, how much square footage do you have in that property?
2,750, I think.
Okay, so now let's just look at the square footage here on the comps. Like we're talking about, when you're looking at this stuff and
There's
going
the 3,700 there.
899 or whatever it is, the 825, that was for over 3,000 square feet. So you got to take this price per square foot and multiply by your square footage.
Yeah.
And you have to have that conversation Ted's talking about where you need to really be emphatic with your seller and tell them they are going to end up with much less than they would have gotten had they just started a little lower. Instead of, come down $25,000 and then not lose.
You don't, that's right. You don't want the house to sit there forever.
No.
Yeah. No, that's realistic. Yes. Yeah.
If you sit down with them with these numbers, there's no way they can't see that. This seems like a silly little thing, but every time I go to a listing and do comps, I've done comps for like 3 days to make sure that I'm 100% defensible when I start talking about it. But I always bring a sticky for me and for them, and it has the low range. Once I get comps that I know they're all pretty comparable, like the specific houses, I take the low price per square foot sold, and then I take the median, and then I take the high.
Yeah.
Right. And
That's
then
right.
you bring pictures of what those are, and you make it really clear so they can see which one is yours most like. Right. And if
That's
they
right.
if they just ignore the data, then when they lose 50 grand, that's their deal. That says nothing about your wasted time and effort. But for them, if they leave it on the table, it's not like it wasn't clear to them at the beginning. But
Yeah.
I always bring sticky and put their square footage times
Okay.
whatever the price per square footage foot
Mhm.
is, and it gives them a number, and that way they can see how I get to my thinking. And I give that whole spiel about 99% of the people get a loan, so we have to pay
Mhm.
attention to the appraiser. You have to do comps like an appraiser would. So
That's
when we
right.
do it like that, this is what we get. Here's the low, the median, and the high. And so this is our range. Now let's take a look at their, features and finishes, and take a look at yours. Where do you think we fall in that?
That's right.
And then when you lay all that out and then you add, it's the worst time of the year to sell. You do not want to ever have to drop your price, or you're leaving money on, you're just setting
True.
bad perception for buyers, and then have them come to a decision about where they want to price.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Very good.
Well,
And I
Betty,
wasn't meaning that against Rebecca, like I wouldn't show those comps. I think Rebecca's created those comps for greater understanding. I
Good.
simply wouldn't show those. I would eliminate that stuff because it's just outside of it's not a comp that an appraiser is going to use.
Right.
And just because they sell Mercedes on the same lot that they sell Hondas doesn't mean the Honda is more expensive.
Oh yeah, none of my commentary was about what you've selected here, Rebecca, if that's where you were going, Ted. It's
No, it
just
was
that-
about my commentary. I was just saying because I said I wouldn't show those comps, and I didn't want Rebecca to think like.
And you know why you don't want to show them too is because your seller doesn't readily, it would take some explanation. They don't readily understand that they're looking at houses that are bigger, houses that, for all kinds of reasons are priced differently. And you don't want to give them, it's like a little kid, like don't give them the option of choosing that. You kind of,
Rebecca, could you send me the link of your CMA?
You got her.
Good.
and so I just I wouldn't show them this sheet.
I
No, it's for me to study it.
Suggesting
It's for
you
me
would.
to study it.
The reason that I'm just explaining the reason that I want to see what's active is so at 850, that's 308 a square foot.
Yep.
And that's, when you look at what's listed and you look how many days on market, now this is new
Yep.
construction, so they've been pre-marketing, and that sort of stuff.
Right.
But when I scroll down to, what's actually sold, there's nothing over 300 square foot or $300 a square foot.
Right.
It's nothing sold for $300 a square foot there. And square foot parcel of my analysis and how I'm going to look to explain that, in my opinion, 850 is overpriced. But, and you look at, days on market when things were priced appropriately when they sold. When you look at, again, this is information for me, list price versus sale price.
Yeah.
Who the heck knows what happened with that one? But, that one, for all we know, that one could have been priced too low. I don't know. But anyway, I don't see
But all the
anything
$1 million
that
homes
justifies,
are there.
based on what I
still
know.
on the market. Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Yep. And again, this is just information because your seller knows these are on the market, so you have to be able to address that.
Yeah.
People who
yeah,
are looking at the houses on the market, and you have to market yours compared to
Yes.
these, and market them, in my opinion, best anyway.
Yeah, no, and all the $1 million are still there on the market, and they've been there for a long time. So obviously, the $1 million ones are not going as fast as they thought they would go. So, yeah, that was that was my first price. About 2 months ago, 750 would be the highest.
It's still,
But I go and revisit it every time I can. That way, just to learn how the market is going. in that specific area. And all the $1 million are sitting there.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, you can't go have him tour the closed listings because that's helpful to say, okay, do you think you're nicer than this? You can
Yeah.
only go look at the actives, and clearly you have someone that may be out of their mind across the street, which they look at and think, oh, well, all of a sudden. But I think this was very helpful today, and thank you so much, Rebecca, for.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Oh,
Rebecca,
All of you.
this is really good. And I just want to say, I don't know if I'm reading you wrong or not, but I feel like you feel defensive about this. And it's like, you have nothing to defend. I think we all completely understand how you
Are
started.
you talking about me?
No, Rebecca. And
Oh, okay.
I think it makes perfect sense how you start wide like this and then narrow down. And there are two different tracks we're going on here. One is for our own understanding, and then one is how we present to a client, right?
Yeah.
And so they're just two different strategies. And in all fairness, trying to do this in 30 minutes is really, really hard. So
No, it takes time to price a house, and I like to visit and revisit it before I do it because I want to have the right number. It's not an easy thing.
maybe what we'll do, since it's just actually, if J. Andy Stiff is on here, sorry, you're now listening to how the sausage is made. Behind the scenes, for the maybe for the next one, we spend the first 30 minutes just really nuts and bolts, and then have the after party. You want to, for the next 30 minutes, if you want to stay and talk more about logic and everything, but maybe so that we work through, at least to get to a point where we can give some input to the person who has submitted it. And then we have these, discussions, more in-depth discussion afterwards. Like maybe somebody presents